Welcome on into the Wild Willie Podcast Show. I'm Willie Cologne, and he is...
I'm JJ, baby. What's going on with you, Big Willie? What you got going there?
Oh, JJ, it's always a treat to see you and
You
to
too,
hear
Big
everything
Willie.
you have going on. I got to say this,
What's
and
that?
I'm just gonna throw it out there.
Talk
My
to me.
wife and your wife, SoGucci, had a beautiful event this Saturday called The Heart of the Matter, where they're talking about health issues and things that plague the Black community. And it was I didn't make it. I was on daddy duty.
Big Willie, I was wondering where you was. You sent me up there by myself.
Well, if anybody can handle it, I know you could handle it. I was stuck in New Jersey handling the family and ripping and running, going to birthday parties and basketball practice and yada, 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 doing my thing.
I thought you were laid back, just get the kids some Chick-fil-A and just relax.
Shit.
Hold on, Big Willie. You had to do what now?
I was on daddy duty, meaning I had to listen. It's a privilege to be a father. So I wear it with all my being soul. However, my kids are my kids, and they are awesome. They're full of personality. They're super social, and we are raising them in a manner where they have standards. Yeah. And so when you don't meet their standards, they will be quick to tell you what you are doing wrong. So when mommy's gone, well, mommy doesn't do this. Well, this is what mommy says, and this is I'm like. I'm king, right? I'm the pappy. I'm the captain of this ship. So it took about 2 or 3 hours for me to lay down law and let them know, mommy is gone. I am your captain now. So they started to adhere to that, and we had a pretty good weekend. But I had to take the basketball practice. From basketball practice, I had to take him to birthday. From birthday, I had to get them fed and get their snacks and get everything together. Because then I had to go shout out to one of my best friends, Willie Wheat. He had his baby shower, so I had to run down to the city, go to a baby shower, from the baby shower. Try to get home at a reasonable hour because we had basketball practice again on Sunday, and then from then we had another birthday party. So it was just like.
Big Willie, you had work. You were working. That wasn't no relax.
But you can't tell the wife that, right?
No.
Because the wife is just like, oh, so you had a Wednesday. I'm like, what? So that was my weekend. But to switch back, my wife and SoGucci threw a great brunch called Heart of the Matter, where they had the best doctors and from around Mississippi. They even had a shout out to Dr. Jackie, who's on Love and Medicine, who is from Mississippi. She was able to be a part of the panel, and they talked extensively about health issues that are once again
right.
Married, yes, I think that's it. Married to Medicine, excuse me. And so they just kind of laid it all out there and try to tell Black folks, like, listen, everything that's killing us is preventable.
Yes.
We just got to do our part. And so one of the things that I was extremely happy to see Aikisha and SoGucci do is, despite being away from Bell Collective and ending that chapter, that they continue to do the work and they continue to serve and move in a fashion that is away from the camera, right? Because it's easy to be one way in front of the camera, talk about everything you want to do and how you want to do it. But it's another thing to actually walk it, live it, and talk it. Yeah. And these two outstanding women continue to do so at a major level and continue to be examples for the younger generation that if you bring two brilliant minds together, two brilliant Black women who love their community and love being from Mississippi, and they have a vision, others will follow. And to see the event sold out, and everybody wearing red, and to see all the professionals in the building, and to see everything come together to make it such a beautiful day, it's like that's what being a part of a collective is all about. Exactly. With that said, JJ, there's something that did piss me off.
What, Big Willie?
That was you. You pissed me off.
What'd I do?
JJ, there has been this running theme with you, and I'm gonna be honest. It's starting. I'm competitive.
Yeah. And
it's starting to rub me the wrong way.
Well, Big Willie, I was. Everything was good. I went to the event. Everything went great. I took pictures. I took videos. I made sure I sent the post. Big Willie, I ain't do nothing.
Yes, you did. You continue to show off this fancy footwork. There's a viral clip of JJ doing the Tamia dance.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do the Tamia dance. In fact, I went through an hour, I spent about 25 minutes on the toilet trying to learn the footwork. But yet I see the one and only JJ, baby. Doing it with ease and swag and sauce and spin. And I'm like, look at JJ go. I don't know that dance.
Yeah.
I need more work. I got to get myself up in Adams. I got to figure this out.
Well, Big Willie, I got to get a shout out to my son, DJ Two-Way. Hold up. DJ Two-Way. Mikael Otis got done it. SoGucci's son. Our son taught me, got done it, how to do it, Big Willie. And got done. I ain't gonna lie, Big Willie. It wasn't easy. It took a lot of goddamn practices and some patience, goddamn it, to get it. All I can say, you gotta have a good mind and you gotta have some patience. Now, it wasn't no easy task, but once I got it, Big Willie, I had to do it. I had to make it do what I had to make it do. Goddamn, I had the scarf, Big Willie.
Mm-hmm.
I put a little dab, a little swag with it with the scarf, Big Willie. I had to put the scarf up into action.
I saw JJ spin. I saw them hit the foot, bang, look at the camera, give a little shoulder action, dip on them, spin back, footwork, look at the camera. I said, look at JJ go, baby.
Yes, sir.
I said, God damn. And so now there's this, JJ, help me out too. There's another dance.
Yeah.
That's out right now.
The boot.
Yes, sir. So JJ, I've been having this conversation. There's a part of the dance where the women whip out the fans. Wah, 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 right? I have had multiple conversations because I love the dance, right? That's another dance I have to, I'm behind on that because I don't have the footwork for that. But there's a part of the dance, the breakdown, if you will, that when the fans come out, I'm just going to say this.
Yeah.
The fans aren't for the men. The fans should be exclusively for the women. JJ, I have watched enough social media where I'm seeing more men that's partaking in this dance with
and
the
bringing
fans.
out the fans.
JJ, I'm gonna let you handle that. I say no fans for the men.
I've seen a video where it was an older man and he was killing it. And while the women and everybody else had fans, he had a footwork what he did that make it seem like he was doing it with the fan and making the noise like the fan, but goddamn it wasn't with a fan. And I said, now that's the one I'm gonna do. So I gotta send that one to you, Big Will, and we'll learn it that way instead of.
So you're anti-fans too, though?
Yes, sir. I was like, I can't do the fan. I can't do the fan.
Listen. I think it's feminine. I got no problems with saying that. It doesn't make me wrong or whatever. I just feel like there's some things that are made for the women. There's some things that are made for the men. Me at 6'3", 300 plus pounds, with the footwork that requires to do that dance, I also don't need to be whipping out a fan and yak with my big ass rolling my hips. You get what I'm saying,
Jay?
Big
Willie.
It's not on brand. Like some things you have to stay on brand. I believe the fans aren't for the men. I had this conversation with my niece. I've talked to my homeboy about it. And my one homeboy, who I'm very surprised at, extremely surprised at, he was like, man, it's no different from, he was trying to say, in the Spanish culture, when they do this, they had I forgot the name of it, and it's horrible that I'm forgetting this. But it's like I was like, no, it's not even, that's an instrument. That's an instrument they're playing with while they're dancing. This is a fan, and only women use fans. Like that's how I equate it. So if I get hate for it, I'm sorry. If you ever see me do the boot dance, I will not be bringing out any fans. And if you are a man and you have the fan, then, it's America, home and land of the free, I guess. So it is what it is. I want to pivot, JJ. PK Subban, do you know who he is?
Oh, yeah. I heard a little bit about him.
Right. Good brother. Played in the National Hockey League. He's Canadian. And this past weekend, not this weekend, but the weekend prior, there was the NBA All-Star weekend. And then in the hockey world, they had the tournament of 4. And it was Finland, Sweden, United States, and Canada. And so the first match, I think, was one of the matches were Canada versus U.S. And within the first 9 seconds, 3 fights broke out. Like these guys started getting after each other. And the place was like electric. It was rocking, right? When they did the United States national anthem, the people of Canada actually booed, right? And so there was so much hostility. There was this pride. We're talking about our country here. The best of the best are going against the best of the best. And I'm not an avid hockey fan. right? I listen. All I know about hockey is that the puck is black. Just be straight up about it, right? But I do, when you watch it, you can tell these guys are competing at an extremely high level. They're fighting and scrapping, and they're doing the damn thing, and they're representing their country, and they're playing for the passion of the sport. Got that. When you turned on the NBA All-Star Weekend, which I watched. I watched the slam dunk, 3-point contest, the skills competition, and even the game that LeBron decided to sit out of, which he told the league 2 hours before that he wasn't going to play due to an ankle, whatever, which I call BS. Nevertheless, when you turn that on, it was bad. It lacked passion. It looked all over the place. It wasn't the NBA All-Star Weekend that I know you and I grew accustomed to.
No.
I was a kid, JJ, when we knew the NBA All-Star Weekend was coming. You didn't leave the house because you didn't want to miss a damn minute of the All-Stars. Nothing. Yeah, you didn't want to miss anything. You didn't want to miss the 3-point. You didn't want to miss the slam dunk. You just wanted to be glued in and being able to see everything and see all the greats be great in the moment. With that said, PK Subban went on ESPN, and he's also been on All the Smokes podcast with Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson, and they asked him about his viral rant in which he was very critical about the NBA and the lack of passion.
It's not just based on the skill and talent. It's based on the pride, honor, playing for the guy next to you. I got a question for the NBA players. What the hell are you playing for?
Take us into just kind of your thinking.
There are core elements to sports that, to me, need to be staples.
Agreed.
You need to show up for fucking work.
Yeah.
You have to be on the fucking floor. I don't care. Like, for me, the team will support you. The league will support you if you can't go. If you're hurt and you can't go, fine. But I'm watching Kobe walk off the court with his friggin' finger dislocated, popping it back in and going. His Achilles is torn and he's shooting free throws. These are the facts. This is not like I'm not making it up. It's right there for you to see. So do we want to celebrate that or not? He's a gamer. Michael Jordan's a gamer. Those guys leave it all on the floor. I want to see athletes that want to go out and win at all costs and will give everything. Those are the guys I would go to war with. So it's not about fighting. It's not about going out there and fighting. You got to fight for the opportunity. You have to fight for the next generation. You have to fight for yourself and your family. You have to fight for the league. You know, in our sport in hockey, there's a lot of guys who didn't make $1 million a year, that didn't make $8 million, $9 million, that had to go and find jobs after playing. But you want to know something? Those guys played banged up. They played hurt. They played injured. They fought. They gave everything they had to give. And that has allowed me to make the money that I made in the National Hockey League. It's not always the best team that wins. It's not always the best player that ends up hoisting the trophy. But ultimately, what I have to take from you is when I watch you for 82 games, do you give everything you have? Do you show up every night? Do you do right by your teammates? Do you do right by the game? Because ultimately, that is the best part of your legacy. That is what people will remember about you more than your championships and your rings.
JJ, you listen to it like I listen to it. Your thoughts?
Those players right now, I think they don't made it too comfortable for you to find the players like you did when you had Jordan and Kobe around back in the day. You only have so many that have that eye of the tiger desire up in them to want to win and be out on that quarter field by any means necessary. And I think, to be honest with you, it's just like, they just, now it's so much money up in the league now that it's more about the money than actually winning. Okay, if I could get paid, forget it, got done it. I'm gonna go out here, got done it, put on the show, got done it. Then I got done it, get through, I go, got done it, back to my family, party, do whatever I want to do. Hey, I'm entertaining, got done it. Forget, got done it, winning the championship. I'm getting this money. That's the only thing I'm concerned about. And I don't think they're just focusing on the goal like how they used to back then. Back then, got done, it was determination. It was the will to win. It was, I look over next to me, got done, and I see this person got the same energy as me, and I look over here, and this person bringing the same energy, and we got done and gonna hold each other down, and we ain't gonna leave out this court without got done it looking at each other, whether we win or lose. When we get to that locker room, I can actually say, brother, we gave it all we had, and we're gonna come back, got done it tomorrow. We're gonna practice, and we're gonna try to do what we got to do to be even better. So when we meet against this person or this team again, we gonna got done and let them know we ain't nothing to mess with because we in this together. And I think it was a more structure back then than it is now. And I think, to be honest with you, I think, with everything they're doing with the money and the system they got running today, it's taken away from that desire to win, that will.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think he hit on a lot. So I'm going to speak to one. I think he did a great job of explaining the reason he was allowed to make the money and have the notoriety and kind of live the way he's able to live now is because there were those before him who paved the way, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's, people, if it wasn't for Magic, Mike, and Larry, nobody knows what the NBA would look like. Right, like if it would, where we would be now, in reference to the money these guys make, the endorsements, the branding opportunities, on and on and on. So I think he did a great job of explaining, like, those guys had to bust their ass, play through anything and everything to shoulder and pave a way for what these guys are privy to now. And I definitely understand that. Like, being a part of the Pittsburgh Steelers, being a part of an organization who won 6 Super Bowls, I tell you firsthand. When I see Mean Joe Green, when I see Mr. Blunt, rest in peace, the great Franco Harris. When I see, Lynn Swan, when I see all these guys, these greats who won Super Bowls and didn't nearly make as much money as I did, right? But they played with a level of pride and passion that exuded, not throughout the team, but throughout the city, through the state of Pennsylvania and on, because it goes back to what PK was saying. When I turn on a TV and I watch you play, the tape does not lie. Mike Tomlin used to have a great saying. He goes, your tape is your walking, breathing resume. You know a guy who's loafing, and then you know who the guy who's given everything he absolutely has in his body to be the best at his job. I was fortunate enough to play for an organization who one of our creeds were, and I think it's a universal creed, especially in the sports world, is there's a difference between being injured and being hurt. There's a difference. And I remember, shout out to Brett Kiesel, who played defensive end for us. I remember him explaining that openly amongst people who goes, injured is, in Pittsburgh, it has to be dangling off your body.
Exactly.
Hurt means a strain, pull, whatever. Get your ass back to work.
Damn right.
Tape it up, strap it up, ice it up, whatever you got to do. But when the bell rings, we're in the ring, we're going to battle. So that was made clear to me at a very, very early part of my career as a Steeler and a professional. And I was always a tough guy. I played with injuries. I always dealt with it. I have a high pain threshold. So I was accustomed to just kind of playing through things. But I can remember, man, quick story. It was Steelers versus Cincinnati. Ben throws a pick to there's this linebacker named Brandon Johnson. I think his name was Brandon Johnson. Anyway, the guy's running up the sideline, and as I'm running, trying to chase after the pick, I get absolutely boom knocked on my ass, fell awkwardly. Right, JJ, my ass was hurting so bad, man. When I tell you,
you didn't play no more.
JJ, my ass was on fire, right? And so, because it was a pick, we had to roll our ass back out there. And JJ, I thought I broke my hip. I thought my ass, I was in pain. But I finished the game, right? And I finished because at the end of the day, that's what you got to play through pain. Play through pain.
Yeah.
Fast forward, I end up having to go to the doctor and getting an X-ray on my ass, right? On my ass, they took it. They did an X-ray, and they have your tailbone is supposed to go straight down like that, right? Mine was bent like the end of an umbrella, like the umbrella hand. It was bent like that.
You didn't have to have surgery on your ass, did you?
No, it was a big ass hematoma on it, right? Big ass bruise for me landing on it, and I practiced that whole week. They gave me a donut, Jay. They gave me a big ass blue donut to sit on, in meetings. And I still practice. And I can remember we were going through practice and Mike Tomlin was like, man, Willie, he's like, I could tell your ass is hurting. The way you moving. They showed me like pulling. You would have thought like, I don't know if you ever seen like Yogi Bear when he steals the picnic basket. When he's running straight up, but his legs are kind of just moving as fast as they could. That's how my ass looked. He's like, boy, I know you was hurting, man. But he also said, which felt good at the time, was, I appreciate you being a professional. Meaning professionals got to play through the hurt. You got to play through the pain. And I could see that I earned the respect of, my peers, my teammates. And I had multiple injuries throughout my career, so that just wasn't the first example. But that's the one that kind of sticks out in my head. I like PK saying it because he's not a basketball player saying it. He's a guy who played in the National Hockey League, who has a name in the industry. And he wasn't bashing. In my eyes, I didn't receive it as him bashing the guys. I think he was just saying, as a professional, any sport, there's a standard in which you have to live up to. Yeah. And when you don't live up to it, then shame on you. Right. And I think it's so crazy that the tournament was going on at the same time the NBA All-Star Weekend was going on. And for the first time in my eyes, that it seemed like the NHL stole the headlines in a positive way and the NBA stole the headlines in a negative way when these massive contracts these NBA guys get and they put that out on the floor for us to digest and kind of have to be good with it. If I'm Adam Silver, enough is enough. Exactly. Enough is enough because watching that this past weekend, it felt like the NBA All-Star Weekend has officially fell from grace. Well, and that was tough.
And even Green said that, from the Warriors. He said, man, you used to look forward to going to, the NBA All-Stars or the pros got done at a Pro Bowl or something. He said, but now, he said, it's like you work hard to try to get there, and then you don't even play 5 minutes. He said it's a disgrace of everything they're doing up in the league that don't make sense right now when it comes to the All-Star.
Yeah, and hopefully at the end of the season, they kind of reflect and realize that, and I saw Byron Scott, so I don't want to take his take, but I heard him say this on social media. Byron Scott played for the Lakers and was a coach. He goes, listen, it's up to Adam Silver to tell these guys, if you don't pay, I'm going to fine you. Right? Yeah. The best of the best for the All-Star Weekend should be on the court. It's a must play. Like, you got to get out there and play because whatever the hell that was, it wasn't it. It wasn't it, and it wasn't good. So I appreciate PK Subban for saying that because I drank everything he was saying. Like, it's a privilege to play at the highest level. It's a privilege to play amongst the greatest to ever do it. And it's a privilege to make the money we are allowed to make. And with everything that comes along with it, right? Like it's an honor, and the only reward, like I used to say this about Pittsburgh. When I lived in Pittsburgh, we ran the city. We did anything and everything we wanted. We had a damn good time. Our only reward was to win on Sunday. No, excuse me. Our only give back, was to win on Sunday because the city protected us, right? Like in Pittsburgh, I could walk into restaurants and have drinks and be myself, and knowing that the guy next to me respected my privacy and also cared about me getting home, right? I've had multiple times where I've stumbled at a bar and I'm like, I've had a friend like, Willie, where are you going? I'll take you up the road. Like, that was my experience, right? And my only give back to those people caring about me and my well-being was, I got to go kick ass on Sunday, and I got to do it for Pittsburgh, and I got to do it for the Steelers. So I totally understand what PK was saying. All right, we're going to take a break. Come on back. Why Willie Podcast Show. Welcome on back to the Why Willie Podcast Show. I'm Willie Colon, and he is...
JJ, baby. What's going on with you, Big Willie?
JJ, I'm extremely fortunate to know a lot of brothers who are doing a lot of big things in their career. I'm extremely fortunate to know brothers who are highly educated, very self-aware, and also like to laugh like myself.
Thank you.
So once again, JJ.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, of course, I'm talking about you too, Jay. Yes,
okay.
That is true.
I got mixed up for a change, Big Will. I ain't know.
No, I guess listen. Your eccentric ways only explains your intelligence, so that's how I perceive it. But I do say this, Jay. I'm extremely fortunate to hit the Rolodex and tap into people that really have perspective, walk the walk and talk the talk, and also have a unique and kind of brilliant way of explaining what's on their mind.
Yes, sir.
And here on the Why Willie Podcast Show, we ask the questions, we find the why, and we give our observation, and we keep it pushing. I have a brother who I keep close to the chest, who I love dearly. We've been in the trenches together in a lot of different ways. We we found each other when I was auditioning at Fox Sports. He was actually what was your official title, Brandon?
Associate producer.
Right, he was associate producer. Well, when I left Fox for the little hiatus I was there, I went on to Barstool Sports, which is led by Dave Portnoy and company. And so I said, hey, man, I'm doing this content. I want to create this vertical. I got a lot of things doing. I need somebody with a big brain who understands my why and it. And so I called Brandon Newman. Brandon Newman is a content creator. He's a comedian. He's a Notre Damer, if you will. The man wears many hats. And so one of the reasons I've decided, well, first off, welcome to the podcast, Brandon. I just keep talking over you.
No, I appreciate being welcomed into the Why Willie network and podcast family, especially to meet JJ officially.
Right. JJ is, I love JJ. I think when people look at JJ, they're like, oh, he's as advertised. The gap, the smile, the laugh, it's as advertised. No, so I called Brandon because from time to time, I try not to respond to the internet because I have somewhat of a name in the sports world, and what you say will be held against you. There was a clip that RG3 was a quarterback at Baylor, played for multiple teams in the NFL. Now he covers sports, and he also has a podcast called the Out of the Pocket podcast with his wife. Well, he also happened to have Demetrius Johnson on, who's a big time MMA fighter. I was a big fan of his. Did a hell of a job in the octagon. And they were talking about interracial marriages and everything that comes along with it, the perception, the culture, yada, yada, yada. So for those that don't know, obviously you don't, or if you do, you do now, Brandon is married to a beautiful woman who happens to be white.
Okay. Dun, dun, dun.
Right. And so I said, B, and just to set it up, I said, yo, B, man, I could give my perspective. I could talk about what my mama told me. I could say all the things that would be appropriate for my side of the fence, right? Like I could play, but I wanted to be somebody who I know for a fact, your mom is a strong black woman. You come from a strong black family. You are from Louisville, Kentucky. It doesn't get, those three things are black enough. Like those are three black badges that should never be questioned. But on top of that, you have decided to marry a white woman who I know you love and respect, and you have three beautiful children who I love seeing their pictures. They warm my heart. And I have so much respect for you that I want to say, hey, man, there's somebody living this truth. There's somebody walking this walk. Get their perspective. Well, before we do that, I'm going to have our producer, Britt, cue up the clip because I want Brandon and JJ to see this.
I was with the Baltimore Ravens. And I asked him, I said, would you ever date a white girl? And he said, nah, my mama raised me right.
What did your mom tell you that you felt is wrong to date outside of your own race? She probably said, don't you ever bring a white girl in this house.
To me, it was like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Are we teaching hate? That's what happened to us. Why would we teach the same thing back to our kids? Correct.
I think it's that mom that started the problem.
Brandon.
1 second.
Okay.
Let's start. I don't want to take the ball completely.
Go ahead.
But I know I'm not the only person that got a white wife that you know. You played in the NFL, okay? So
No.
the fact that no, trust me. And when you hit me up, I was like, oh man, I really must honor this friendship and my perspective on things because obviously we've been through a lot and stuff. But RG3's wife in this clip saying that the mom was the problem is already going in the wrong direction for me because we try to protect black women right now. So to bring up the conversation is one thing. To start throwing skewers and for the only YT person in the room to be the one to do it, I'm already pushing pause. But I'm going to answer the question that you lay out.
So here we go. One, you're right. I do know multiple dudes too, but I honestly respect and I know you're not going to cut corners because you've always been real and honest about everything you've gone through and go through. On top of that, I think I want to answer the question, right? I thought Demetrius Johnson, some things I agree with, sometimes I didn't, but I think it was a fair enough question. What did your mom say to you when you let her know at the time, like, hey, mom, I'm in love with a woman. She's great. By the way, she happens to be white. What happened, or not what happened, like how did that transition kind of happen or the dialogue between you and your mother?
Oh, me on my side?
Yes.
So like most black households, the head of the matriarch usually the grandmother, right? So it was my grandmother who was the one that we knew for a fact like that wasn't necessarily flying with, right? Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, I'm an alumni of Dating the Whites, so it was back when I think it was back in like it was like in middle school, like the first white girlfriend, and we all set my grandmother down to talk to her and like kind of say like, hey, it was me, my older brother, and my mom's like, hey, by the way, BJ's he's about to date a white girl. And she was like, oh man, y'all acting all serious. I ain't about to die because my baby dating a little white girl. I ain't about to die because my baby dating a little white girl. Well, 2 weeks later she did pass, and I still miss her to this day. But I don't know if Ashley was the fault of the death, but specifically. But it was bigger than the nuclear household, and it was something that I felt like a conversation that had to be breached, of course, at the beginning. But what that anonymous player on the Ravens team that told RG3, like, my mom raised me right, and he said he posed it. And I watched the podcast. It's not like he hinted it to it, but I like to imagine it was Lamar Jackson who he was asking. But so I think what he's missing is, and the jump to hate I thought is unfair, because when that is communicated, at least when it was to me, it is for our safety. It is for the safety of us as young black men. It is the safety for our community as a whole. And obviously, at the end of the day, protecting black women is supposed to be very, very important and preached in all of our households, I imagine. And that takes away from that to an extent. And that's one less unprotected, at least how I was kind of made to understand and think about it. So it was a big deal. And I feel like it was never not a big deal. Like I told you, serial white woman dater. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I don't know. Somebody hurt me. But I think like it was like when I brought a different white girl around, my family would always bring up another one's name type of thing. Like it was just always the poking and prodding. And I'll be real with you. Like, Willie, we've been a part of this. Like this conversation directly. I mean, me and Willie got close past my high school, college career, and I started dating my wife freshman year of college. She was a tutor for the football team, or for all the athletics, and we just kind of hit it off, and we've been dating since freshman year. And so when I announced that I got engaged, that's like first social media, and Willie looked at me, he's like, hey, oh, whoa, B, the woman you said you're engaged to on social media, I don't know if you know, she's white. So are you okay? Are you sure? Get Out had just came out. So I don't want to hog the mic completely, but I do think that it's an important conversation and is an important value system that is instilled in black men when it comes to dating outside of your race, because of just how marginalized our community is as a whole. So to continue to, I guess this is how I'm seeing it, is the threat of cutting it down or lessening it or strengthening it or taking away numbers. And maybe this is antiquated and obsolete, and this is not the right way of thinking. This maybe I'm telling myself by talking about it this way. But I think this is what I was communicated to me, and it was one of those things where it was like, okay, if you're going to do this, you're going to do your own thing, but you have to be safe, and you can't be out here like this because weaponized white tears is a very real thing that I've always been aware of.
Right. JJ, I don't want to give you rooms. You got a question or something?
Yes, I got a question. Now, you can look at me and tell, goddamn, I ain't the one to dabble because I'm the lightest one on here. So I'm pretty sure somewhere down the line, my ancestors got done it. They just had a ball somewhere down the line, and I just can't help it. So, I ain't the one to talk. But what I want to ask is, and I'm pretty sure this is what a lot of people want to know. Now, me personally, I don't have a problem with her. I'm like, if the heart tell you to go there, whether she got done it black, white, Chinese, Mexican, whatever the situation might be, then it shouldn't be whether, okay, I'm not gonna go outside my white. I mean, outside the box, my race got done it to date. I feel like if the heart bring you there, we all got done it human beings. So to be honest with you, color shouldn't matter. But I know you have a lot of women that probably want to ask the questions that, they want to know. And I'm going to ask it for them because I'm pretty sure, that they don't ask me before, Big Willie. When a black man date outside his race, is it a reason why you dated a white woman and basically married her that made you not want to deal with the black woman? Because I'm sure that's what they want to ask. Is it a reason why you toured toward them instead of just staying with your own kind? I'm sure that's what they want to know. Me, I say you follow the heart.
I wouldn't. I would say from my position, no. I know I've been picked on and whatever. Like one thing that they said in that podcast was that being picked on by other black people, like about your blackness, is like wrong or whatever. And I say that's probably the most black thing ever. It's like black people pulling up black people's black cards is part of the black experience,
right? And everything
I'm sure
we do.
you experience. Yeah, everything we do. I'm sure you experienced it, Willie. But like, yeah. So I think so. For me, I've obviously been like teased about my blackness and things like that, and obviously. We know no one cuts like a black woman does, especially when you care. You know, like that. I say the harshest thing to me is like, you know, I'm at a party, I'm talking to some people, or I'm talking to a black woman, and you know, we vibe and having a good time, and I'm talking, and I talk about my wife, and I say like, well, you know, I'm married to a white woman, and oh yeah, I could tell, and I'm like, oh damn,
wow,
damn it,
wow,
not the diction again, but. No, but so I would say I would say there's nothing that I've that's kind of pushed me there in the sense of like not deal with black women. I think that's the term that gets thrown around is it's very negative in my opinion. To get back to jokes, my brother blames my mom's white voice. She was pretty good at code switching. And, it was especially in Louisville, Kentucky.
It's a real thing,
like, oh yeah,
yeah. I mean, honestly, like it's just. I was always trying to stay out of trouble. Like football was always my biggest thing. And not to say that black women lead to trouble. Obviously, that's not the case. But I was always trying to eliminate distractions for me. So when it came to being with someone, I was very much like, get someone, close the doors, like shut the noise down, just kind of focus on the thing. Right. And I think I'm loyal to a fault in a lot of ways as well. So when I get this first girlfriend in college, that's my wife that I'm with for all the reasons that I found her attractive. She was smart, surprised me. Family background wasn't as, you know, clean cut Lily White is basically be able to understand. I'll say it like this. She had half siblings growing up. So a lot of times you run into white people and they's like, oh, you have a half brother, half sister. Like they try to throw that at you as if like that's not real for, you know, in our community, blood is blood. And that's my brother. That's my sister. So there were some things that we related to, and we did a lot of trauma bonding while we were at Notre Dame because we both hated it so much. But I would say that it was not something that I was trying to run away from, which is something that I feel like Demetrius Johnson was trying to get at in that podcast was trying to act like his life was better or easier because he decided not to marry a black woman.
I mean, he pretty much said it. For those out there, go to the Out of Pocket podcast with RGIII. He happened to have Demetrius Johnson, once again, an MMA fighter. And what's interesting about that, too, because I think he said it. He was like, you know, when I go to barbecues, I'm looking at all the brothers look stressed. You know, they get it out the mud. And I got it out of somewhere else. And I'm saying, the mud, though? The mud, my G?
That was nasty. That was the part he said. Somebody asked him, oh, you like to play in snow? And he said, well, I don't want to play in mud. I can't get dirty. And it's like, but that's honestly, that's a microcosm of the idiotic athlete brain of some sorts. You know what I'm saying? Like, I played in the U.S. Army All-American game, class 2008, and I was like hanging around with Terrell Pryor and Patrick Peterson and some other Patrick Johnson at the time. I don't know what his name was at the time, but some other guys. And I was just trying to get stories, and I was just trying to clout chase a little bit. And they're talking about bringing girls back, and somebody holler, if it ain't white, it ain't right. And it was my first time experiencing that, like, because I always saw that in the movies and stuff like that. And I was like, raised my hand. I was like, hey, your mom was black. Like, y'all got sisters that's black. Is that really the message you're gonna be pushing? And then somebody else was like, ain't your girlfriend white? And I was like, okay, I'm gonna sit down.
Yeah, and so listen, but I'll tell you what, I've been with multiple white.
Me too. Me you the same way, Big Willie.
I've
and
dated.
y'all nasty. I'm sorry.
I've dated. I've courted. I've actually had serious relationships,
too,
like
Willie.
to the point where I'm like, man, this girl could be my girl,
Me too,
right?
Big Willie.
But the problem The problem, and I'm keeping a buck right now, is I always saw the end of the road. When I took the sex out of it, I saw how this was going to end. And that was more troubling than me because I realized internally I was chasing lust. I wasn't chasing a connection. And the connection only happened through sex and how they made me feel externally, not internally. On top of that, there was a big disconnect. There was a big cultural disconnect that I know I needed from my soul. And even from, and not to say I didn't know I was black before I dated or whatever, but there was being with my wife. My wife is somebody who is well-informed, educated, solid, inside and out, strong. She brings a lot to the table. But one thing she does to me from a connection standpoint, she understands the plight of a black man, right? And it doesn't start with me. It starts with her grandfather, right? It starts with her father. It starts with being raised in Jackson, Mississippi. But one, the Emmett Till story rang bells, right? There was a young brother who traveled from Chicago, landed in Jackson, Mississippi, was visiting relatives and supposedly winked at a white woman. And later on, he was escorted out of his home and beat to death, right? And come to find out, it never happened, right? So that's trauma my mama carried, just like your mom said, right? Your grandmother carried. On top of that, as pro athletes, right, we hear the stories about that black athlete getting taken for everything. The one my mom paid most attention to was when Michael Strahan got his divorce and how much he got cracked. And here is a 22-year-old kid getting drafted to the Pittsburgh Steelers, having more money than I've ever seen in my life and more money than my household has ever seen. And her fear is like, you're going to meet one of these white women and you're going to fall in love. And because you just like your goddamn daddy, you're gonna get caught out there, and she gonna rob you for everything, right? And so there's a multitude of things where our moms raise us, not from a sense of, they may not just bang with white women, but they're trying to protect us along the way. And it comes from a sense of fear, comes from a sense of, data, if you will. There's just numerous stories about things that have gone wrong for the black athlete. And so that's the position I knew my mother was in.
Like I say, I don't date to multiples as well. But to be honest with you, I like I said at the beginning, I think it's the way the heart. If your heart tell you to do, to do that, that's the direction you go. I don't think it matters whether they white, black, or whatever. I feel like if you got a connection, you got chemistry, you got love there, color should not matter.
But I do think that there's a lot of men in jail, regardless of color, that followed their heart. Like your heart can lead you to making some pretty silly decisions. You're talking about leading with your penis, Willie. Before, like I do think that there's a reality to the situation that breeds caution for right reasons, right? And I think that's why I don't want to, and that's why it's like different strokes for different folks. But I really do think, like as a whole, as a black community, like trying to protect one another. And I'm unfortunately, my brother's, he's an activist, I could say that, but he's Hotep light. And I do agree with the black divinity and trying to, make sure that black people continue to prosper in this country, as we go on. And Dr. Umar has said that he doesn't believe that when we do get reparations, that people in interracial marriages should get a check. And listen, I'm with him. I'm with him. Really? There's some financial benefits that I've come across from my wife's father being a white man that may not be available for everybody if they're staying with their own kind. So, it's just a complex conversation, and there's a lot of ways to it. But my thing is, like, I want to let everyone who has caution and pause to it, to let them know that, like, don't let people telling you that you're being hateful pull you away from you instinctually doing what you think is right for yourself and the people around you.
Before I show another clip, I want to ask you this, though, B, from a cultural aspect, right? Obviously, you and your wife have been together for some time now. Both, you guys birthed biracial sons, right? How has that process been?
Ooh. It's okay now because they're 5 and 3. I think the conversation is going to come up, and it has come up in random little ways, but they recognize that their parents don't look alike, and down to the skin tone, right? it's out of pocket for me to tell other people that my children are black and they should be respected and viewed and addressed that way, especially with all the white blood running through their veins. Like
Right.
I think that there's a reality to the situation that neither my wife and I can handle, and we actually our parents, when our parents came together and talked about us having kids, that's what the conversation was. It wasn't about us as a relationship. It was about, what about these kids? Like, how are we going to set them up to feel included, important, like not other so much while growing up? And that's honestly, Willie, why I had a lot of love for Los Angeles when I was out there when we met, because it was very diverse. It seemed as though that blow maybe softened or pushed further on into like the high school, college areas. But I mean, my boys got black cousins, and they really don't even got that many white cousins. Her brother married a first generation Indian woman. So like there's I want them to know who they are and where they come from. But when it comes to how everyone else looks at them, I do have to let them know that people are going to see them and address them as black, and it's up to them to, notice that or stomach it in other ways.
I'm gonna let you go to that, but so I want to play another clip. Britt, if you have it up, play the second clip.
Your kids are biracial, but it doesn't take away their blackness. Do you believe it is okay for a black man to marry a white woman?
Absolutely, 1000%.
We clearly agree. You're not turning your back on your community because you decide to marry someone outside of your ethnicity. The children, are the children black? Are they biracial?
Yeah. Minority on X.
Yeah, on X, feel that if a child is not born from a black woman, then the kid can't be considered black.
Yeah, so that's it. That's the clip. You heard it. B, thoughts?
Well, I'm interested in your guys' take on it, because I do feel like we talked about blackness already and it being in question. I do think that is a part of the black experience, unfortunately. But for someone to take their experience and how they've come to find love and build a family and all things like that and try to universalize it, I do think it's dangerous, and I think it's slightly problematic. I do think the conversation of who's black and who's not is something that's going to always kind of be in the lexicon, and I don't think that we ever going to have an answer to it. Like, we might find out, Jesus might come back before we found out who's really black. You know what I mean? Like, maybe he'll decide. But I think it's a conversation that will always be divisive, because within our own community, this is a conversation that we're always going to put. I mean, you look at Colin Kaepernick. Look no further than Colin Kaepernick, who is adopted by a white family, of mixed race from genetics or whatever. That's what we're hearing, and things like that. And the entire time, while he's kneeling to bring attention to injustice for black people in America, there's a subsection of black people that are like, well, he's not black. He's not one of them. He's not us. Like, we appreciate the mouthpiece, but you can cut the
afro and the cornrows just don't cut it for us, bud.
Right? Yeah, like, it's not enough. But yeah, I think there's a reality to this conversation always being. We're never going to find a real answer on it, but the concept of, like, is a question like, should a black man be allowed to marry a white woman? Like, unfortunately, the courts decided on that in the 60s. Like, we got a legal saying on that, where it was illegal at one point and now it's legal. And for all things that were illegal at one point in history and now are legal, there's always going to be a question mark on it.
I think you're right, Brandon. I think I really appreciate what you said as far as telling your kids, yes, you have a white mom, and yes, you have a black daddy, but the world will see you one way, and you have to prepare for all that comes along with it. Because listen, I'm black and Hispanic. I identify as African American and a Puerto Rican. My full name is Willie Colon. When I'm around my Puerto Rican family and friends, they go, Willie Colon, the salsa singer, you speak no Spanish? And I'm like, nah. They're like, oh, be gone with me. Yeah. You know, and then when I'm with my black folks and my family, and man, Willie, ain't you one of them Puerto Ricans? Yeah. And I'm like, yeah. They was like, oh, so you ain't full black. I'm like, no, it's black. I'm just, no, it's still black. So it's like
beans and rice black.
Right. And so there's this constant ping pong of trying to identify who you are and what you are. And it's even tougher for biracial kids, black and white or black and Mexican or whatever, because we are, by nature, we're tribal, right? And we identify each other by what we look like and what we sound like and how we approach different aspects of our life. And so when you're constantly at it, kind of constantly trying to pass a test, it becomes exhausting. Right. And I know from growing up in the South Bronx, and, I remember playing, me and my brother playing Little League Baseball. A lot of our teams were Dominican and Puerto Rican. They was like, how you got a last name named Colon? You don't know how to play no baseball. Just like, and I was like, I don't know. They're just like, just like, you're not one of us. So I get it. But I also think why it's important for parents to put it down and lay it on the table. Like, no, this is how you will be seen. This is who you are. I have no problems with you learning about mom's culture and what she stands for. No problem in that. But you got to understand, when you step outside these doors, it's a different dog. So I do that.
Now,
I want to acknowledge that.
I want to ask Brandon, when you put on the application, black, white, what do your children put on there?
They don't put nothing. They're 5 and 3. They don't have job.
I'm talking about what do they put, when the time comes?
No, I'll never find out to be able to reprimand them. But if I find out it's something other than black,
that's what I was thinking. You would definitely put black.
It's hard for me not to be me and then look at my children who I know I had a part bringing into this world and not see them as descendants of my people, descendants of Africa, like descendants of Nigeria, like descendants of Sierra Leone. I just told myself I don't know how to say Sierra Leone properly, but I'm saying like it's something that can't be erased, regardless how fair their skin is. And the curl of the hair and I think the conversation about aesthetics around mixed people are the kind of problematic, dangerous stuff, because when it comes down to it, like JJ said, it's a drop, right? Like we're like, that's how it's consumed in America, and that's how it's digested. So if there is one drop, then that's what it is. But I would hope that my kids understand and have some pride in where they come from and who they come from to continue on that lineage. Like, it's my thing. What I've been asked myself is like, am I going to push my kid? Am I going to give my kids the same message that I get? Like, you better not bring a white woman home. So it's like, but what about mom? She say the same thing. Don't even ask. But you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a part of me that I want to continue the pride of being black in America, but there is also a part of me that realized that maybe I sat out this part of the fight the moment I decided to marry my wife.
I don't know. I don't know if that's a question only you can answer technically. No, but I'd say this, and I want to ask you another question just to kind of push along. I know we've talked briefly in the past about when you're with your wife, the social interactions and what you have to deal with, such as the eye rolling, the sucking of the teeth. You talk about the one joke you heard out of a joke that still kind of hits you in the ribs. You're like, "Ugh, that hurt." Do you still deal with that from time to time, or you become more callous to it, or you're just like, man, it is what it is, and I have to keep pushing?
You mentioned us being tribal, right? Like, this is very real. So when my wife and I in Sarasota, Florida, walk into a First Watch, it's not necessarily a disc scratch, but all the eyes go jet to the door and look, right? And the conversation around it has changed, it being 2025 versus it being 2005 or 2015, right? I joke about this on stage, but when old white couples will come over us and we're sitting there with our family and they say, "Oh, beautiful family, beautiful family. Oh, this your kid's beautiful family." Like, I know what that means. What
does it mean?
It means I wasn't a fan of this, but they're here now and you guys seem happy. Yeah. So like, I just gotta let y'all live. Like, I think there's a reality to having opinions about ideas or things and then being forced with it in your face, right? Like, actually having to look at it and be like, oh, like, this is a version of the ingredients that I thought were evil. Or, I mean, I've heard preachers talk about race mixing, people go to hell. Like, I think there's a reality to, like, okay, I don't want to be a martyr or be a example or a trophy of this every time I go out. Like, there's been times, like, I've been raised by enough black people that I've been with Michelle, my wife, and seen a black guy with a white girl like that, and just instinctually lean over like, he couldn't find no black woman to be with. Like, whoa. Sorry, that's my grandma talking.
Right.
But like, I like those things are instinctual, and I think those are things that I need to share to make sure that I'm the best parent that I can be. Mm-hmm. But the reality is, the knee gut reaction is the knee gut reaction. But the thing about what they'll find out about us if they talk to us and talk to our story, and this is kind of the conversation that me and you had when you came to me and talked to me about when I got engaged with Michelle. I was like, listen, like, the person that you've met today was a product of the life that me and this person built together. And I would love for you to be able to trust me in this, to trust my decision making as friends and all these things like that. But if not, then we'll have that conversation. But I feel like I've limited myself with certain people of color that I've like seen as mentors, or certain people that I felt like had an issue with me, with my being with a white woman, marrying a white woman, procreating with a white woman, and I've cut those relationships off. But have I had a sit down conversation with those people about the things that they've said that made me feel this way? No. And I think that's something that like I could have done to push the ball forward versus just kind of bow out when it starts to get too sticky.
Right. Yeah. JJ?
Well, it's like this here. You can sit here and do one or two things. You can be with who everybody else wants you to be with and be unhappy, or you can be who you want to be with and be happy for the rest of your life. You can't please everybody, and ain't nobody gonna get there and ever be satisfied, don't matter what decision you make. So you got to be in this world and do what makes you happy and not please everybody else. Please yourself. And as long as y'all happy, that's all that matters.
I want to say first and foremost, thank you for being vulnerable, telling us and allowing us to walk in your shoes and look through your lens on a subject matter I know you kind of have to have a briefing about every now and then. And thank you for jumping out there and just telling your side and how you feel about you and your beautiful wife and everything you have to go through with you and your family. So I know it's it's not an easy conversation, but I appreciate your bravery for at least having it. And I think some people feel like they shouldn't have to explain themselves or what they do because love is love. Yes. But this is America. Yes, and so I thank you for always keeping it 100. I love you, brother. I got nothing.
I love you. I love you, Willie. Thank you for having me on. And thank you, JJ, for saying everything I said in one sentence that I spent 3 minutes talking about. I was speaking for like 3 minutes, and JJ was like, well, like they say.
Yeah, exactly. Like Eddie Kane Jr. say, got nothing but love for you, baby.
Before I let you go, pump everything you got going on and where people can find you.
You can find me at Brandon J. Newman everywhere on socials. Keep a lookout. I'm getting a podcast started with Brandon Friends. Willie will be on it for sure. And now that me and JJ are friends, it's just a matter of time.
I'll bring JJ.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. But I appreciate you, man. Thank you for this. This is good conversation. We don't have nothing but real talk.
Yeah.
So let's even start some fake talking between the time too.
Always appreciate you. We're gonna come on back. Why Willie Podcast Show. Welcome on back to the Why Willie Podcast Show. Thank you to everyone who tunes in and supports JJ and I and allowing us to be who we want to be in front of you. All right, stop being silly. Thank you to Brandon Newman, my brother from another. I love him. Thank you for, like I said, him being honest, vulnerable, and talking about his plight and things that he deal with while being in interracial marriage. JJ, the floor is yours. You want to tell the people anything?
Yes, I want to say we had a wonderful weekend, and it was a pleasure, it being at Heart of the Matters that Aikisha and SoGucci threw at a sold out event this weekend, and I must say it was astonishing. When I tell you great, man, everybody had on red for the cause, for the Heart of the Matter. Everything was beautiful. The buffet, I mean, everything with the food from the DJ, from me and SoGucci's son, DJ Two-Way, he turned up, got the people out there dancing after the event. It turned into a whole big party. Big Willie, I tell you, the only thing I want to say, if you didn't get your tickets this year, we're going to have to get an even bigger event because next year, I'm pretty sure it's going to be even bigger because we had people calling all over the states trying to get tickets. Can we come? But they were sold out and they didn't have enough tables. They didn't have enough seating. They filled everybody up and they filled it up to capacity, if not past capacity, just to try to get a few in that they could. So I'm pretty sure we're gonna have to get it. They are gonna have to get an even bigger event, and it's gonna be even bigger next year. And Big Willie, I'm really looking forward to it. They did an excellent job.
Well, I'm happy you was there. And next year I plan on being there. I am off on a family vacation. I am going to be on a Disney cruise. So Aikisha, my mother-in-law, my niece, and my two beautiful miracles will be jumping on a cruise ship and to go live in La La Land for a little bit while we get back to work. So I'll be doing that. JJ, while I'm gone, please behave yourself.
Yes, sir. Tell Mickey I say hello.
I will. Take it easy on SoGucci. You let her rest a little bit. All right.
Yes, sir. I'm not gonna promise, but I'll do my best.
Our Willie Claude and his
JJ, baby. We'll see you next week.
Peace.